Good morning everybody, welcome to my YouTube channel and to my train room. This morning I have to start on Brian's scratch built structures. I have quite a few of them to build and I only have a relatively short time to do it in. So unfortunately I don't have the luxury of finishing all my own projects. Those are just going to have to wait till later. So I've cleared off my workbench and I'm about to get started. So let's turn the camera around and get to work. The first batch of structures I have to build for Brian is a set of mine houses very similar to the N-scale ones that I built last year. In fact, I'm using the same plans. I've blown them up, but they're only approximately HO scale, so rather than have to take all the measurements and calculate them, the first thing I did was to go on my CAD program and create full-scale templates for all the walls. And there's several pages of them here. I think I've got 6 pages. I've got 4 individual houses and a bunkhouse to build. Next thing I need to do is take all the templates and attach them to my siding material. Well, I have all the templates taped down to the siding. So a couple of things to notice at this point. I've cut the bottom edge on the line and lined it up with the bottom of the siding. The top edge I've deliberately left loose, that way I don't attach a wall section upside down, because that would result in having to throw it away and start again. Also, you'll see all the wall sections have double lines at the end. If I hold one up to the camera a little bit closely, that is because I've drawn the walls full size and then drawn a guideline to show me how much I have to cut back to allow for the corner post. Last thing to notice is that even the doors do not go to the bottom of the siding. That's because the floor joists sit on top of the foundation and the siding has to cover them. So the bottom of the siding is always going to be at least a scale foot, probably more like 15 inches below the door thresholds. What I'm going to do first is cut all the window openings out, and then I'm going to cut the walls to size. With all the door and window openings cut out on all the walls, now it's time to cut around the outlines. As with the windows, I use a square for all the vertical corners, just to make sure they are vertical. The photograph that I have shows that all the upper portions of the walls were covered in tar paper, which normally comes in 4-foot wide strips. So I've laid masking tape on my work surface and I've cut it 14mm wide, which is 4 scale feet in HO. And now I'm just putting strips on, starting at the relevant height. I'm using the lines in the scribe siding as guidelines. Start from the bottom, working my way up the wall, overlapping each piece very slightly. Now that I have the top halves of all the walls covered, it's just time to trim off the excess masking tape, both around the outside and in the window openings. Now, with all the siding on the walls, the next step is to add the corner posts. If you recall earlier, I cut both sides and ends back by the width of a scale 8x8. I'm using 8x8s because they are slightly thicker than the siding instead of slightly thinner. By assembling them on a flat surface, they stick up about a scale inch, which is perfect because the real structure would have been built with 1x8s. I'm choosing to attach the corner posts to the gable ends. That way I know I have enough at the top to allow for the slope of the roof. And at the moment they're all cut slightly too long. I will sand them off or cut them off to length when the glue is set. It's a lot easier than trying to get them perfect the first time round. Well, here's all the gable ends with the corner posts attached. I've got enough for 4 houses here, the 2 large ones and the 2 small ones, and the ends of the bunkhouse and its rear annex. Well, while the gables were gluing up, I also added stiffeners to the side walls. There's one along the bottom. Notice how it's not right at the bottom. That's because it's going to have to fit on a stepped foundation. So the foundation is going to go inside here. Everything's cut long at this point. The bottom stiffener and the corner posts, they're all over length because it's a lot easier to trim them off afterwards. The top edge doesn't get a stiffener because the roof will be the stiffener there. So let's trim them all off. And then I need to just clean up the ends with some sandpaper. So I'm going to quietly get on with this, and then it'll be time to start assembling walls. Now that I've finished cleaning up the long walls, let's do the gable ends. I'm going to cut them off close to the right length of the knife and then finish them with sandpaper. Now, commonly on a clapboard building on a stone foundation, the corner trim would go about an inch below the siding. It doesn't have to, and I'm not going to do it that way. I'm just going to sand them flush because it will fit on my foundation a lot better that way. And that's all that takes. Well, I've done some experimenting and I've found that I need a 30 thou spacer at the bottom and 20 at the top where I've got the masking tape. So what I'm going to do is cut some strips of scrap 20 thou and then glue 10 thou onto the bottom half of it. Well, I only left this about half an hour, but I think it should be long enough. Right, what I've got to do now is figure out how to arrange them all in here so I can glue these 8 L's into 4 buildings. I need to make sure I get a front and a back on each one instead of 2 backs together and 2 fronts together. I'm going to do all of them like that, and then I'll come back, spread that, put some glue in, and clamp the other 4 corners another time. Well, these corners have now had time to glue, so let's take them out and turn them around, get the 4th corner glued together in each of the buildings. Okay, so that is end of day 1. Well, that's all for this installment. This video is already getting long enough. For the next installment, we'll work on the roofs and the foundations. So I hope to see you then. Thanks for watching, and bye for now.